Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm excited to be here with you today. We've got a special leader in the house, and we're going to unpack all the good things she has going on. But before we jump in, I want to give a special thank you to our sponsors, Lux Neuro, offering neurofeedback and counseling where your heart and mind align. For more information about what neurofeedback can do for you, listen to the neurofeedback stories of transformation in the middle of this podcast. Neurofeedback effectively treats everything from insomnia, anxiety, depression, trauma, ADHD, and much more. Optimize your brain. Special thank you to Declan James Watches. They are local and veteran owned. They are giving back 10% of all of their proceeds to the Navy SEAL Foundation. And finally, Colorado Clownfish Swim School, swim lessons and water safety training for all. They believe in life skills through sports. So go waterproof your family today. Check them out at coloradoclownfish.com. Without further ado, I would love to welcome KatOSullivan to the TNT mic. Welcome, Kat.
I am thrilled to be here, and I love the turmeric and tequila. We have lots of both in our house.
Yes, we're already in alignment. I love that. It's you gotta have both. You gotta have balance. Kat covers a lot of bases, so I do want to read her bio just so we know what a rock star she is. But it says KatOSullivan is a keynote speaker, fellow podcast host, author, and transition coach. For over 25 years, she has helped individuals and organizations discover new possibilities, even when they felt it was impossible. Kat has worked across sectors, corporate, nonprofit, education, and privately owned businesses, providing a roadmap, support, and tools to bring their vision to life. She is passionate about helping people move towards the future, just waiting to hear them say hell yes to new possibilities. So I'm going to say hell yes to let's go on this. Kat, before we talk about the mission, what you're doing now, I always love talking about the young human behind the mission. So give us an idea on young Kat or you as a kiddo.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is so much about my story because I had this amazing, well, first off, I should say the most distinctive thing about me is I was born in a secret city.
Oh, okay. Tell us about that.
Which really influenced a lot. Both my parents were involved in Los Alamos, New Mexico, making the transition to nuclear weapons. And it was top secret. I didn't have a birth certificate that showed where I was born until I was 10. Prior to that, I was born in a P.O. box.
Wow. Okay. Wait, so the secret city existed, but nobody knew? Is it like on a government base or tell me about
it?
It
It's at the top of a mountain in Los Alamos, New Mexico, up from Santa Fe.
Okay.
And it was highly classified. I mean, it obviously existed, but it was a classic, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you kind of scenario, literally.
And now you're on a podcast.
Now that is not what I want to be known for.
Right.
It's something I inherited. And, I never really realized how significant that was until I was crossing the border from Canada to the US. I was traveling with and the border agent asked where I was born. And I said, Los Alamos. And the guy behind me declares a bomb baby.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it just took my breath away. My heart was going like 100 zillion miles an hour. I just wanted to crawl in a hole and hide. But, to most people, this was way before 9/11. So to most people, it was kind of like, ha, ha, ha. Meanwhile, I'm cringing.
Yeah.
It was a moment in my life where I had to decide, am I going to let that influence who I am and what I'm about? Or am I going to create a declaration of my own, as in, one that would reflect who I really am, who I want to be? And a lot of that was influenced by the fact that I was traveling with people. And a lot of people probably don't know, what that's about, but it it was a 2-hour musical performance by high school and college age students where you traveled a year and you stayed with host families wherever you went, which
Cool.
was an amazingly eye-opening experience. I learned a lot about differences and the reality that we have way more in common than we have different. And I not only was able to perform in the show, but also they recruited me to go ahead of the cast to find those host families and promote the show. Now, I was 16.
Wow.
A lot of responsibility. And it was like the best thing ever. I had to learn so much, so fast, be resourceful. And I discovered that I was able to make stuff happen, even when it seemed impossible, which became kind of a theme throughout my life, taking on the seemingly impossible. And so that, 2 years on the road really influenced, how I think about myself, how I think about others. It really set the stage for me becoming a lifelong change maker. So I'm very grateful, for that experience because it really did transform my life.
Yeah.
And it's been a transformational journey ever since, never ending, I might add.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know I love your disruption with grace.
Yeah, Grace, we're actually wearing the shirt today.
Oh, hey, I wish I had it
Let's go.
because that is like what I am all about. I mean, I learned very young that I could be a disruptor and create positive change and, influence a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's been so gratifying. And so it's kind of led me to the point where 3 years ago, when COVID hit, I was at a place where I was completely burned out.
Okay.
Completely burned out. And I was like, my success was keeping me stuck. And I think there are a lot of people, maybe some in your audience, who can relate to that, where, you're really good at something, you've been doing it. And so you almost feel like compelled, and certainly other people compel you to keep doing what you've been doing. And it was just a moment that it was a disruption that was such a gift, because it really did give me the opportunity to step back and say, is this what I want to keep doing?
Yeah.
No. And long story short, we decided to move to Mexico.
Okay.
So we've been here 3 years.
Wow.
Absolutely love it. Have no plans of leaving. And we're about 90 minutes from the town of Tequila.
Hey, all right. Well, now I've got a place to stay. We'll come post up. Let's go.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's just been amazing. It wasn't easy. It was challenging.
Yeah.
I mean, we made that decision, and in 3 months, we had to sell our home, cars, boat, furniture, packed up our bags and our golden retriever, got on a plane, and moved to Mexico.
Wow.
And we're about an hour from Guadalajara, if people want to know kind of where, central Mexico, not on the coast.
Okay. Interesting. I love that you are continuously modeling the behavior. I think the biggest importance of leadership or influencing or being an influencer is modeling the behavior and walking in it yourself, actually walking the walk to talk the talk. I am curious, were you an only child? Were you the oldest?
I was the oldest. I have
Okay.
2 younger brothers.
Okay.
And I am so excited because my youngest brother, Bill, just decided that he and his wife are going to move down here and retire.
Oh, okay.
So I am just thrilled that we're going to actually have some family here.
Heck yeah. Yeah. I think our youngest, I think birth order makes a big impact on what our trajectory is going to be. So I think I'm the oldest. I had 3 younger brothers, so I'm with you. And it's a lot too when you're one gender and the other gender is the entire rest of the crew. But it's also fascinating that you had that opportunity to be exposed to other cultures and ways of living early on. I attribute my education in that from athletics and going to travel abroad all over the world and seeing how different families lived. How do
Mm.
you think that early on not only like positioned you to lead, but like positioned you to be comfortable in those situations and just take on things that you knew nothing about, being around people you knew nothing about, but still hold your own and be in the mix?
Yeah, I think really it was when I was given that opportunity to go ahead of the cast.
Yeah.
Like I said, 16 years old, had no idea, and very little adult supervision. I mean, talking about just being thrown into a situation and having people believe that you could do it.
Yeah.
And I think that
Yes.
was so important. It was like, I was not micromanaged. I mean, just quite the opposite. It was like, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was thrown into some unbelievably challenging situations where some places people were excited we were going to be there. Other places it was a little bit more of a challenge. And, learning how to communicate, how to convince, how to inspire, how to find the resources wherever we were. Oh, and that first year was my last year of high school.
Okay.
And I literally did it on the road. No classes, no textbooks, like project-based learning,
Yeah.
learn wherever we were. So even in that situation, school-wise, everywhere we went, we were never anywhere more than 5 days. We had to find the resources. No cell phones, no internet, no computers. I mean, just like wherever we were, having to figure it out. So between that learning experience and then also being given the opportunity to take on some serious responsibility with, it was like, failure's not an option. 100 cast members and 15 staff are going to show up, and they better have places to stay,
Yeah.
food to eat, a place to perform, so that really helped me gain confidence and realize that, I am capable, which frankly, growing up, that was not the message that I got.
Okay.
I will never forget, figure like 9th grade, I decide I'm finally going to win my dad's approval. Yeah. So I work my tail off. I bring home straight A's, only to hear, why didn't you get an A+?
Oh man. Wow.
So I, didn't have, it was kind of like, really?
Yeah.
On the one hand, it was like I just gave up in the sense of thinking I was ever going to win his approval. It was
Right.
also a good thing because it made me realize I don't need his approval.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a way to apply that really until I was traveling and given that responsibility. And so that really helped me get in touch with the fact that I was capable. I could do things and I could do them really well.
Yeah.
And so I was invited back for a second year because of that. And oh, by the way, that first year, I had to find a sponsor to pay for my
Oh,
travels.
that's tough. Okay.
And I did something that most people thought was really crazy. I picked up the phone. I called NBC Studios
Hey.
and I asked to speak to Bob. Now, I was calling Bob Hope,
Okay.
who
Oh my
I
gosh.
knew loved Up With People. He had done a special with them the previous year. And I made my case, and he paid my expenses that first year.
What? How did you actually get connected to him?
I picked up the phone. I
Okay.
called NBC Studios, and providentially, he was there. And
Wow.
Mary, who answered the phone, I just said, "Hi, Mary, how are you? Can I talk to Bob?" It was so like assumptive,
Okay.
and he happened to be there. And
Wow.
he came on the phone. I was like, who's this?
Yeah.
And so, sometimes a lot of people thought it was naive. And all I can say is, at 16, I didn't know any better.
Right. Right. But also,
So it was like, what have I got to lose? I'm just going
exactly.
to, and so one phone call and I had my entire year paid for.
That's incredible. And the sponsorship sales, I mean, as a fellow podcaster, it's not easy for us to
Right.
get these bills paid out here. It's a lot of work. However, you don't get what you don't ask for. And in this day and
Right.
age, just putting it out there, like you literally do have nothing to lose and just to ask. And if you're ever on the other side, we've hired and worked with organizations and you see someone that has the gumption to ask, I'm always like, yes, how can I help you? If I have the ability to help and you had
Yep.
the audacity to come in and put yourself and believe, those are the people I want to work with. So come through. And time, energy, and budget willing, I love working and supporting those people, and that's actually what TNT does now. Is this a lot of what you teach and coach with the organizations you work with? Is this part of it, like leaning in and just taking what you want?
It's really, the people that I work with have hit a wall, kind of like
Yeah.
I did. And, their companies have grown to the point where it's no longer working. And they need to think differently. I mean, really differently. So I come in basically to disrupt.
Yeah.
And to help them open up their mind to think that something else is possible.
Yeah.
Because if they keep doing what they're doing, they're, as we know, they're going to get what they got, which isn't good,
Right.
So I love the opportunity, whether it's with an individual or an organization, to be able to help them make that shift in their mindset and think about, like I often say, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that's like, whoa, what? And it takes a bit to get them to really consider that question. And I would say to your audience, like, what would you do
Yeah.
if you knew you couldn't fail?
Heck yeah.
And what are you going to have to get over? What are you going to have to let go of in order to do something different?
I love that. And what a great just daily practice of like shifting your mind. Can you give us an example of maybe like some of your favorite success stories or like businesses or individuals that turned around and went from A to B because of your coaching?
Yeah, I mean, ironically, I have a company that I used to work with before COVID hit, and they were kind of the classic little startup that grew and grew, and then I got involved, and they were like, "Say what?" And I worked with the owner and the leadership team to really think about what would they need to do differently in order to grow and to grow successfully. And they did. I mean, they had a lot of growth, and then COVID hit,
Okay.
and I moved to Mexico, and we kind of lost touch. And a couple months ago, I got this message from the owner, like, "Hey, Kat, what are you doing? What are you up to?" I'm like, "Okay, what do you want?"
Yeah.
And it's a great story. I mean, he said, "We grew so much, and now we've made another leap, and I have a new leadership team, and I really need help, helping them think differently
Mhm.
and to think together about what is our next step." And so I'm working with them both virtually and then going periodically to Los Angeles, where they are, to work with the team. And just, seeing their growth and their willingness. I mean, them on is because they are so open. They show up
Yeah.
literally and figuratively, and they're willing to think differently, and they need some coaching for that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So,
it's wild how in this landscape in 2024 and 2025, we're more and more open to energy and questioning a better way and leaning in and getting coaches to lean into this, mindset and kind of more like the touchy feely. And I like to say the woo, but energy is physics and all
right.
that. But it's all part of it. But society is more and more open to it. We're getting to this new year. This will air in 2025. But do you have specific strategies for individuals right now to open their
Yes.
mindset and shift their thinking? Hit us with them.
Yeah. I mean, so my book that I recently published is From Doubt to Do, Navigating Your Pathway to Possibility.
Hey.
And, anytime we're facing a disruption, whether it's one we're making on our own or one that's being, we're at the effect of, right? It's so easy to get stuck in doubt, and fear and worry. And hey, at this time in history, we are facing so much disruption and so much uncertainty, so much fear, so much worry, so much doubt. And the reason I wrote this book is because when I was doing all those seemingly impossible things, I realized at a certain point that there were certain things that helped me do that. And I wanted to share that. So I have something called the 4 C's.
Okay.
And it starts with courage, clarity, commitment, and capacity. And then it kind of circles back to courage. But so the mindset piece is the courage to pause, step back, and ponder, like, what is it that I really want? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? And, that's once you at least open your mind to saying yes to new possibilities, then it's all about, we need to get clarity around what we want that to look like and why it's so important. And the two are just as important. I mean, we've got to have clarity, as in no assumptions. I mean, detail. What is it that we really want? I mean, when we decided to move to Mexico, we made a checklist.
Okay.
Like, here's all the things that before we even knew it was Mexico, here's a list of all the things that are absolutes. Here's the things that would be nice to have. Here's the things that would be awesome, and that really helped us, look at things through that lens to see what was going to be a good fit. So I would say for your audience, like, if you want to do something new, something different, you need to do something like that. Create a checklist. What do you want that to look like? And then, why is it so important to you? And this is so crucial, because if we don't know our why, the first thing goes awry and we're out of there.
Yeah.
It's easy to get off kilter. And when we do kind of get off kilter, if we have a strong why, it can bring us back. And that why will lead us to the 3rd C, which is commitment. And this isn't like, oh, yeah, I think, yeah, it's a, no, this is like, that why ought to make a hell yes commitment. And when we have that, then it's just about getting the capacity. We need to learn into the unknown. Be willing to learn new skills, to challenge our mindset even, learn different ways of thinking, different ways of doing, different skills. And Lord knows, in this day and age, we have access to anything and everything that we want to know and learn. So, it's really those 4 C's. If you use them as kind of a strategy and a planning tool, then when you step out and start doing it, things might not always go as planned.
Yeah.
And you
they
can
won't.
use it as kind of a diagnostic tool. Oh my gosh, was my mindset not quite right? Maybe I thought I was clear, but when I started doing it, it wasn't as clear as I thought. Maybe my commitment wasn't as rock solid as I thought. And maybe there's some skills I didn't realize I was going to need to learn. So you can use it to plan, you can use it to, kind of diagnose what's going on. So I have found that those have really been instrumental with any kind of disruption that I've faced or anything I wanted to disrupt.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ironic, the title of my book, From Doubt to Do, because after we moved here, I decided I'm finally going to write my book.
Hey, okay.
And of course, the minute I said that, all kinds of doubt and fear and worry cropped up.
Yeah, sure.
And I think the thing I would share with your audience is, again, anytime we're faced with something new and different, that's going to happen. It's normal. And the key is taking one step, the first step, which is always the most difficult, right?
Absolutely.
But once I opened that blank document and started typing, things begin to, there's momentum and things begin to flow. And before I knew it, I was sending my manuscript to the publisher, and then it's published. And oh my God, I had a whole nother wave of doubt.
Okay.
Oh my God, what if it fails? Right?
Yeah.
And I literally had to pick up my own book and read it from beginning to end.
I love it.
To remind myself, because no matter how many times we evolve and grow and transform, the next thing that happens, it's not like we're back to square one. But we do have to remind ourselves like what we have accomplished and the impact it's had, and take a deep breath. I have a Post-it note. I'm a Post-it note queen. I have a Post-it note on my computer. Breathe,
Yeah. Well, it's a constant practice. I think even when you're a professional and you're the advisor, the teacher, the instructor, the expert, you still have to remain in that practice. And the power of being uncomfortable is something we have to keep. I think that's a fountain of youth, because as kiddos, you fly off the tire swing, you wipe off your knee, you get up, you keep going. Someone asks you to go lead this production and figure out a sponsor, like you just do it. You don't really think. As we get older, we get out of practice. So I love that you display that power of being uncomfortable and then having a specific process on how to navigate what it is you think you want to do, and then testing it if that is actually what you really do want to do. So what a practical skill set for a daily practice.
It really is, and I rely on it heavily.
Absolutely.
And I am a Post-it note queen. I've got Post-it notes everywhere that to keep top of mind those 4 things, and what I'm doing next. I'm actually preparing to do a TED Talk in March.
Okay. Tell us
And
about
so a
that.
lot of those Post-it notes is like my outline for the talk, because as it shifts, I can easily shift the Post-it notes. So I'm really excited about that opportunity. And I think it's really all of the things I've been doing here and a lot of different podcasts and whatnot I've been on have really helped me get clear on what is it that I really, really want to communicate to people. And the title of the talk is How We Think About Legacy is Dead Wrong.
Okay. Do you want to give us a little teaser on that?
I will, because I just ask your audience, like, how many of you woke up this morning thinking, I'm going to live my legacy today? Or, it's like we think about legacy as something that we're going to leave behind when we're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've discovered is no, we are living our legacy every moment by moment, choice by choice. So the question is, are we living a life that we want that to be our legacy, or, you know, I'm just as guilty as the next person, going 100 miles an hour. And then one day, you know, wake up and it's like, oh my God, I'm going in the wrong direction. How did I get here?
Yeah.
So again, back to that need to pause and reflect, you know, are we doing what we are called to do? Are we doing that thing that's been tugging at our heart? And if we're not, you know, what do we need to do differently? What do we need to disrupt
Yeah.
so that, you know, and I love your with grace, because we do need to give ourselves grace,
Mhm.
especially when we're doing something uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
It's, you know, it's challenging. And if we
It-
don't, you know, take care of ourselves in the process, I'm a big, you know, self-care is so important, to be able to walk into that unknown and be
Absolutely.
willing to, you know, go with the flow.
I think it's a skill we got to continue to sharpen, and just like stay in it and know that, you know, we're not going to have this all figured out. And yes, graceful disruption. The grace was the key piece, because like you, we like to go 100 miles an hour and we're just going to run through the wall like the Kool-Aid man. And you learn very quickly that that's not going to work. And, you know, you're tired, you're worn out, adrenal fatigue, knee injury, all the things. You got to do it with grace. And disruption, I think also people always think like, oh man, like, you know, hitting and like, you know, it's aggressive, and it doesn't have to be. It can just
No.
be questioning a better way. And mostly it's about disrupting your own personal narrative and opening your mind, like you said, to possibility and everything. That's where I think we disrupt the world on the larger stage, is internally getting in alignment with our purpose, doing what we actually want to do, using our gifts. And then that vibration, I think, changes things on a larger level.
Yeah, I just, you know, I imagine like, what would the world be like if everybody chose to live their legacy on
Yeah.
purpose?
Mhm.
You know, what kind of impact would that have, not just on the individual, but everybody on their path, and the ripple effect of that? It would be amazing.
Absolutely.
And so that's a message that is really important to me, is to get people to think about, what is it that you want your legacy to be, you know, and what, you know, what is getting in the way? Like, you know, I inherited something that I didn't choose in terms of being a bomb baby,
Right.
right? But there's also like all kinds of scripts that are lurking around in our head, in our subconscious, you know, stories we've been told about ourselves, about others, about the world, that influence everything. And it's subconscious. So
Yeah.
sometimes we also need to really step back and think about, what are those narratives? What are those stories? And how are they influencing what's possible? And
Absolutely.
what else might be true? Because some of those might have been true in the past, but are
Right.
they true now? You know, we can't change the past. We don't have any, you know, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we have now. We have this moment, and how can we have the most impact in this moment?
There you go. All the gems from Kat. I love it. It is really about the legacy and being present right now, because we are living it, and we are a speck of dust in the scheme of things. And I'm an optimist and a purpose person, but the reality is like time and earth, and you know, it's a great big world out there. So we got to make our moment while it lasts. Kat, this is my favorite question that I like to ask everyone as we wrap up, and I'm very curious to hear what you have to say. But what is success to you?
Success is being authentic, is leading authentically, with who we are, and, you know, how we want to show up in the world. And to your point, living, you know, the principles, the leadership principles that we've talked about. Success is, for me, is knowing that I, you know, not just lip service. You know,
Right.
I'm actually living what I'm asking other people, or encouraging other people to consider, uh, and being true to.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm completely with you. It's that constant check-in of, are we living our truth and are we happy with that? Kat, give us with links, websites. Where do we find book coming out? Anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, everything is available on my website, which is Kat with a K, O'Sullivan, OSULLIVAN.com. So KatOSullivan.com, you can learn about my speaking, about my book, about, coaching, pretty much anything you want to know about me, you can find on my website. And that's probably the easiest way. And, if someone wanted to reach out more personally, I'm open to having someone email me. And it's Kat, again, with a K, at KatOSullivan.com.
Let's go. I love it. Well, I appreciate your time and energy. If you're listening, go check out all the cool possibility situation that Kat has going on. I love the idea of going from impossible to possible. We need that, especially as the new year approaches us. I want to give a special thank you to our sponsor, Lux Neuro, Neurofeedback and Counseling. Lux Neuro wants to meet you. If you're ready to transform your life, visit them at luxneuro.com and schedule a consultation. Colorado Clownfish Swim School, we appreciate you. Swim lessons and water safety training for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports. So go waterproof your family today at coloradoclownfish.com. Go see what they've got going on. Kat, I appreciate your time and energy. I'm excited to see where your journey goes. If you want to go sip tequila in Mexico with Kat, shoot her an email. She just said so. And hopefully we'll, if I get down there, we'll do the same. But I wish you well on your journey. If you're listening, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. This video will be on YouTube as well. So do us a favor. If you like what we have going on, share it with a friend. We are wishing everybody a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.